Right, so I've decided to put the sheets over these raised beds here. It's coming into the last week of October, and I just don't want to get caught out with first frosts and all that kind of stuff and having to do a rush job. So while the weather's nice and I can get out, reluctantly, I don't want to have to cut these back. The Ensete bananas, I will actually be taking them out and drying them, so I'll be using a dry storage for them. You can see the size of these. That's massive. We get a better look at those when I take them out. Yeah, so for first frost come in, hard frosts coming into November, I'm going to have plenty to do wrapping up the Musa Basju, and I'll only be charging around trying to do a dozen jobs at the same time. So I'm going to start, reluctantly I'm going to start taking these down. Unfortunately, like some of the plants here, they're actually looking at their best. Colocasia. You got some suckers here traveling across from the pink china, spreading out. Right, so I've cut back the two grasses here in the corner. They could have been left over winter probably, but what I want to do is to clear out any of the old dead grass or thatch that's left in it that might have damp spots and stuff, and just because once I get this under the cover, I want this area to dry out completely. Right, straight into the wheelbarrow with the cuttings and down to the compost heap. And just putting layers of cardboard this time. Get all of these colocasia bananas. So the next layer to go on top of that then will be more cardboard. I just have to strip all the sticky tape and plastics off. Right, so just on closer inspection now, after cleaning out the raised bed here, still have to take out the Ensete. I'll dig it out, turn it upside down and leave it that for a couple of weeks and let it drain out as much as possible before I box it up and bring it in. But you can see the growth of the Ensete carpet is being pushed out instead of growing straight up, and I think this is why. You can see it's actually being forced, it's digging right into the banana here from this canna. This canna now, I got it last winter and it was only a small little piece in a pot, in a like a smaller little, it's only half the size of this in a pot. There was no name, there was nothing on it, so I picked it up and brought it home, kept it in the tunnel. Whoop. We got an enemy here. See, this is what we don't, you don't want any green matter stuff lying around in there that's gonna bring these guys in. So he's gonna have to go over the wall. So this was, this, I don't know what variety it was. I'd love to know what it was. It's definitely a large vigorous type, kind of a bright pink flower on it, but you can just see that the rhizome here has driven right across, pushed, bullied the banana here, pushed it across, and now it's starting to come up itself. But what I can do is I can cut this out at this point and remove this, and actually what I might do is straighten this up. First I'm just going to keep removing all the there's some runners here off the grass which I can take out and pot up. There's more runners from the pink china. I'm just going to tidy this bed up first. Right, so basically this thing is latched on to the Ensete carpet. I have to be careful now not to damage too much roots. But this canna here has just developed so fast in this bed over the summer from a tiny little piece of rhizome, and I couldn't get it out. I had to cut around it with the machete. This little trowel wasn't doing anything at all, but I had to use this tool here, and this tool is, I don't know, it's what, 4 feet, close to 5 feet anyway, and it's an excellent tool. Like if you're in gardening and you have problems with your back, whatever, sore back, you don't have to actually bend over. Let's say if you're putting in posts in the ground, which I use down in the field around the wood. See what it says, solid forged fencing spade from Draper, and it's excellent. So you can stand upright, you don't have to lean over or bend over, pivot at the hips, putting pressure on the lower back. So I've used that a lot and it's brilliant. You can just stand upright, it's not going to break. So that's a great tool. So I've had to bring that out to try and get this up here, but I know it's actually moving the Ensete carpet. Right, so I'm after digging that out. I had to take out the part, I suppose half to 3/4 way. I had to pull that out. Still left a lot of roots on the right hand side of the banana plant intact. Didn't really move, which is good, and it'll help just settle it back in. Made a hole, got the roots back in and the soil back in around it, and just gave it a top dressing of the farmyard manure compost. And here's this rhizome. It's a huge chunk here. Lots of roots, lots of long roots, small fibrous roots, which are the important ones, and growth points. So I'm going to pot that up now in some compost, put it in the tunnel. Right, so that can is potted up now. Always leave a few inches on top so that can actually dry up, and then it'll gradually die back. But with the size of this rhizome and the roots on it, I've no doubt that this is going to come back on. Going to be plenty of energy stored in that. Put it into some new pot and compost, and you know, during the winter, fingers crossed we don't get ice or snow or anything, I'll be throwing some fleece, agri fleece over it. You can put straw or anything, just a layer over the top to stop the frost getting down. A mistake I made last year, with the tunnel basically, is I closed up the back door here and I closed up the front door. So the two entrances were closed, and basically that was creating an environment for moisture. Hey Nina, hey. An environment for moisture and humidity, which is what you don't want. You want airflow, but you got to be careful. I seen a video, there's a chap with the tunnel in Germany, and he had palms, small palms, and they're all along the floor with a gap up the middle. And what can happen, so it's like a catch-22. If you've got both ends open, if you've got a freeze or an icy wind coming through, it's going to go straight up the tunnel and it can freeze left or right. So what I'm doing with these Euro pallets here, they're going to be the uprights all the way up, right up to all the way up the left hand side. I'm going to finish up the top of the right hand side at the top up here. They're going to be used as uprights, and I'm going to get like 4x2 timber, I think they're 16-foot lengths, and drill them on to bind them all together and basically create a table effect like this, and put the heavy mesh on, and so these big pots can go underneath because everything's going to be chopped back, and any kind of small pots, they can go up on top like they are here on the right hand side. So that's what these pallets are for. They're not actually a boardwalk, because the inside here is bone dry, and so just checking the soil in the pots here, and it's bone dry. This is perfect. That's the colocasias. Now what I did last year, I actually removed rhizomes and corms and all that kind of stuff, and I put them into a dry compost. There's actually no need to. You leave them in the pots that they're in, and you bring them into your tunnel or your greenhouse or whatever you have. So here we have the Musa Basju here. A little bit damper, a little bit more moisture. But they're slowly all drying out since I brought these in. You can actually see the gap here around the edge. They're slowly drying out. So there's no need for these plants to stay out in at the end of autumn, early winter, where they're just going to kept getting saturated, and then by the time really cold, wet winter weather comes around, there's not going to be that much sunshine. We have a beautiful day here at the end of October. The weather is absolutely fantastic this year. For some reason it's just perfect for plants. We haven't had scorching sun. There's been moderate heat, Some days have been really hot, but it's been damp and humid and just perfect. I think I said it over there. Over there near the Gunner or something. This is like, it's like Southeast Asia or something. But perfect conditions for the plants, and a lot of the plants are they're actually in their best. And you're probably wondering, like, probably saying to yourself, well, why did you take them in? And it's to basically to start that natural process of drying out. So all the corms and rhizomes on these soft tender plants, and the musabasjus, bananas, pups that I potted up, they're still pushing out these. They're like weeds. Black canna tropicana, still pushing out leaves, so I'm not going to chop these back. Canna Stuttgart. I started to introduce this canna into the ground to be overwintered in the ground, so I'm going to see how they get on. But always have a couple of options in pots, in raised beds, in the ground. Bring your pots in, protect these ones like these ones. Don't put everything into the ground, because you might lose them and then you'll have to start all over again. And I've never seen these advertised for sale in Ireland in the garden centres. And this one I really wanted. They're a lovely canna, super tall. I think they're 7-8 feet tall. You can get a little bit of scorching. They like shade, they don't like to be in the sun. So all these pots here, they're all drying out, slowly drying out, because there's no rain getting on them. So those rhizomes are going to be healthy and good fettle. Come springtime, they'll be ready to shoot off again. And depending on how the canna Stuttgart gets on in the ground around the patio area, I'll mulch them, and if they start coming up, well then I'll reintroduce more in springtime. And basically plants that can survive outside in the ground, it's a lot easier than having to pot them up and bring them in and all that. But some of the stuff you just have to pot them up. You got to be careful with them. I'll probably be bringing this one in. That's the new banana. Seems to have stopped growing, so I'll bring that in, put it on the windowsill, south facing. Just move some of the sables into the sunshine. Let's swing. It's going to swing around all the way across. They're going to be soaking up direct sun then. It's going to be a long time before these get going. Right, so it's not just the colocasias. Pink China is sending out runners. But this I think what they call it, like a beach grass. It's supposed to be in a dry, doesn't need moisture at all. Sending out runners as well. So it's great when you can propagate plants off the one plant. You can save some money. I cut one out earlier in the summer and I put it over here. Yep, it's going away because I chopped that back. Keep that tucked in there because the dogs will eat it. So yeah, I think now's the time you can divide up your cannas. You could divide up grasses, pot them up. So I'm going to pot up this grass here. Another free one for next year if it survives the winter. Right, so this bed is basically tidied up, everything is cut back, took out some rhizome to separate and grow on separately next year, took out some grass runners. So this Ensete banana, it's just, see where it holds the water. These things love water, and basically that's all this plant is. It's like it's just a giant grass with cells. They grow like weeds. You see all these individual cells? They all hold water, and that's why they rot in winter. That's why they're not hardy here. When the damp in the soil and the snow or the ice comes in, they rot. So I tried an experiment last year, putting it in the tunnel, turned it upside down, tried to dry it out, using large cell bubble wrap. So large cell bubble wrap, let's say, has a lot more air in it. They're much thicker than the thin bubble wrap, and foam kind of boxing around it, and some fleece over it to protect it from any kind of ice or chills coming down on top, and it just rotted away. I also tried it alongside a dwarf Cavendish, and that's the exact same. Basically it's a small green, non-hardy. See ya. Stop. And that rotted away as well. So what you can do with these is you can turn them upside down, drain them out, dry them off as much as possible. They'll always hold moisture inside it, and you can box them up and bring them indoors, keep them out of the light, and keep them somewhere cool. If it's too warm, they'll actually just start regrowing from the top here, which happened to the two that I had, because I had kept them in one of the rooms and the central heating was on, and we just had to keep the heating on in that room, and it kept growing. And with the new green growth, it just attracted bugs. So I'm going to be able to go this year, bring it in and see how I get on, but they have to come up, have to dig them out. Right, so I'm out there digging around it and got the spade in underneath it, and basically all of this soil has to come off, because this will rot the plant. And what you can do is you can get your hose and wash it. Lovely big roots, really healthy, and it's done really well actually in all this sand and gravel. There's manure, compost, it's all mixed in there. So there is plenty of free drainage, but it's still not going to survive in Ireland if you leave it in the ground. So I'm going to get all the rest of this soil off the root. Right, so I'm after taking out the Ensete banana, or Ensete, and just tidied up the bed there. And here it is over here. So I've turned it upside down here, you can see all the water that's come splashing out. And basically what you have to do now is, that's about 3 feet tall now with everything chopped back. To wash all the soil off the roots here. then you can just turn it around, get the whole lot done. Right, so after you've washed them out, these big thick roots here, you can actually just cut them all off because they're not going to overwinter. They're just going to rot, and your growth is going to come from all the small fibrous ones anyway. But they'll dry up. But you basically want to cut all these off. Right, so I'm after cutting all those thick roots off and give it another good wash. And basically this needs to dry out. You leave it turned upside down like this, and you want everything draining out as much as possible. You need it to dry out, and also you need in here to dry out as well. And later on in the winter, like if there's little bits of soil or whatever, you can tease them out. You don't want anything in there at all. That's going to rot the plant. Over winter, these ends here will start to go black and start to rot. But what you can do is you can just gently trim them away if you need to. So now it's time to just leave that turned upside down and dry out. Right, so one of the casualties taking out the Ensete banana, there was a rhizome forming for one of the cannas, and you can just see where I've sliced through with the spade. So there's still some roots on it. You can actually see how fresh this is. The colour white and the green, that was actually coming into growth. But there's a good chance if I put this into the pot or leave it back in the bed that it's going to rot. It's going to get infected through here where it was cut. So what you can do is to help prevent it is this stuff here. It's Vitex, or it could be any brand. You can get any brand. It's yellow sulfur, and basically you can put it around the area that's been cut before you pot it up. So I washed it and got a tea towel, dried it off the surface. It's going to get damp anyway, but dry off the excess moisture, and then powder it up with some of this yellow sulfur, and it can help controls powdery mildew on many fruit, flowers and vegetables, helps protect against storage rot of bulbs, corms and tubers. So you can use it on your cannas, you can use it on the bananas as well. The dog went at it, Nina. I don't know how she didn't get sick. I just got it back in time, and there's puncture marks everywhere. Yeah, so put this on the surface, and we can pot it up, and then that's going to be going into the tunnel for the winter. Right, so the Ensete banana got huge and it looked great here in the middle, and it was the largest plant by a mile, with only after a couple of months of putting in a small little pup like this. But I don't want, it's kind of overshadowing the Muscolacia carpet, which is going to take a lot longer and is hopefully going to permanently stay in this bed. So what I might do is give this next year the Ensete bananas. I might get pots and pot them up on their own and plant them along the walls here in very large pots. But what I might do now is I will move this into a much more central location here, because I want that to be the focal point here in the bed for the start of next season. Now I might be replicating these beds across the back here, and a lot of these soft plantings will be going in here, because I might be putting some palms instead in here. So there's lots of options. I haven't completely decided on what I'm going to do, but I think I'll actually take this up now and move this into a much more central location here, because if I do decide to leave this bed the way it is, it can kick off in spring, and it won't be disturbed. Right, so I've taken the mousse elastic carpet out of this corner here and moved it into a much more central position. I think it's going to look better there as it develops and grows. Probably from here down, any of the pink china, they'll be taken out and planted up into the ground around at the patio. And I've watered it in as well. Make sure all the roots are. There's good drainage in this bed anyway, so it's not going to be sitting in moisture. And once the cover goes over, that ground will, over a period of weeks and months, it's going to dry up, so they should be fine. When the cold weather comes in, like ice and the frost and stuff, I'll be wrap this banana up. So I'm going to get the cover on now. So I need to attach some sticks that are going to be long enough to the plastic cover that's going overhead. And the good thing about having your own little wood at the end of your garden is I've planted up a lot of hazel, which you can coppice. So I can use some of these sticks here, and it won't do any damage to the hazel. Actually, hazel should be chopped back every few years to keep it fresh and keep it growing. As it'll, if it's not cut back, you know, it could die off. So I'm going to cut these sticks up. Right, so that's the first one up. And it's going to keep the rain off the bed, so the bed can dry out, plants can dry out. And the option is there. So I can take those sticks out at any time, and as let's say bananas or other plants get bigger, more permanent plants, I can put side panels, front panels on it and box it off. So just for this season now, the height that it's at is enough to let the air flow in, and they can dry up. So these beds will have to be done as well.